In the fast-paced world of South Korean entertainment, where every word and gesture of a big star can make headlines, there is rarely a moment when an idol actually opens their heart without filters. However, that's exactly what happened when Park Jimin, one of the BTS members who has been known for his gentle smile, finally revealed something that had been hidden. His sentence was simple, but it shook many hearts. "I should have spoken a long time ago." The utterance appears to be not just a series of words, but an emotionally charged acknowledgement, like a long-locked door finally opened. Armies around the world fell silent, waiting with bated breath, trying to interpret the intent of the statement. The confession did not come on a concert stage with bright lights, nor on a scripted television show. Those words came in an intimate setting, as Jimin spoke in a voice that almost trembled, yet remained firm. There is a vibration in his intonation that makes many people realize that this is not just an ordinary expression. Jimin, who often covers his pain with a smile, looks different this time. The look in his eyes seemed to carry a long story that had been held, a story that was probably only known by a few people closest to him. Many immediately wondered, what exactly did Jimin want to reveal? Is this related to BTS's journey as a group that is currently serving the military? Or is it a matter of friendship, guilt, or even pent-up love? No one really knows for sure. However, his tone seemed to confirm that Jimin had been waiting for the right moment to speak, and now he felt that the time had come. Behind his cheerful image, Jimin has always been known as an emotional figure and very sensitive to the feelings of others. He is often the mediator, protector, and also comforter for other members when they feel tired or depressed. However, precisely because of that nature, Jimin often keeps his own burden. It prefers to hold back feelings rather than burden them with others. ARMY knew perfectly well how several times Jimin cried at concerts, not because of weakness, but because of sincerity, which he could hardly hide. So, when the phrase, "I should have spoken earlier," is thrown out, it's as if all the pieces of the puzzle about him are starting to come together. Many fans speculated that this statement could be related to the dynamics of the relationship between the members. In recent years, BTS has gone through so many things: global pressure as the #1 group in the world, the pandemic period that made them unable to meet ARMY in person, to the important decision to focus on solo activities for a while. In the midst of all that, it was not uncommon to see moments when Jimin seemed to want to say something, but always held back. There is a short look, a slight smile that seems to cover something, or a slightly dim look in the eyes. Now it all seems to have found its meaning. A staffer who once worked closely with the group even mentioned, "Jimin is the type of person who always thinks about the impact of his words. He is afraid that words that come out without calculation can hurt others. Therefore, even if he has something to say, he often chooses silence." However, too long silence can turn into regret. Maybe that's what finally made Jimin say those words, a regret for not daring to speak earlier. For ARMY, this moment presented a mixture of emotions. There was a sense of relief because Jimin finally dared to be honest, but there was also a sense of sadness because they realized how heavy a burden he had been carrying alone. Local media immediately highlighted the statement, with various interpretations. Some think Jimin may be talking about the pressure of being a world idol, which makes him unable to express himself freely. There are also those who believe that the sentence is a form of implied apology to other members, perhaps for not feeling present enough when they are going through difficult times. However, on the other hand, some fans believe that this could also be a form of love finally expressed. Jimin is known to be very close to the members, especially with V and Jungkook. Their intimate moments often become heated discussions among the ARMY. "I should have spoken earlier" could have been an expression that he regretted not expressing his affection more often directly, although in his heart that feeling was always present. Whatever the meaning, one thing is certain: Jimin has shown extraordinary courage. It's not easy for a superstar of her class to take off a professional mask and show her fragile side in front of the public. The entertainment world often demands perfection, but precisely with his honesty, Jimin shows the most human side of himself. That's what made ARMY love him even more, not only as a singer and performer, but also as a human being. After the confession, social media was immediately filled with various hashtags of support for Jimin. "We love you, Jimin. Thank you for speaking up." And "It's never too late" became trending on Twitter within hours. Fans from different countries wrote messages full of love, affirming that it is never too late to be honest, and that they will always be by Jimin's side, no matter how he feels. Some even reshared old moments where Jimin seemed to want to say something, with captions that now feel even more meaningful. If pulled further, that simple sentence can actually be a reflection for anyone. How often do we refrain from speaking, when words can be a healer, can be a binder, can even save? Regret for not daring to be honest from the beginning is universal. With Jimin's courage, the army seemed to be invited to also dare to face their own feelings. It may take some time for Jimin to really explain what he means. Perhaps, too, he will never elaborate on the details. But sometimes the beauty of a confession lies in its mystery. With just one sentence, he has already managed to thrill millions of people, showing that honesty, even if it is late, is still of great value. And in the eyes of the army, Jimin is never too late. Now, the world awaits Jimin's next move. Will he write more into his music, channeling those emotions through meaningful lyrics? Or will he come back with a more open interview? Whatever the form, it is clear that Jimin has just opened a new chapter in his life, a chapter that is more honest, more human, and will probably inspire many to also dare to say, "I should have spoken a long time ago." Jimin's sentence did sound simple, but the longer it was pondered, the deeper the meaning felt. He is not speaking as a global idol who has made history, but as an ordinary man who once felt afraid, once delayed, and finally regretted. In a world full of camera glare, such frankness rarely appears, and when it appears, it instantly becomes something unforgettable. Since this news came out, the mood in fandom has changed. Many soldiers admitted to crying when they heard the confession, as if they could feel the burden that Jimin had kept. There are those who write down their personal experiences on social media, associating them with the same feelings. Fear of speaking, fear of being honest, and then regret that time has passed. Jimin, with one sentence, managed to make millions of people feel not alone. That's a power rarely possessed by a public figure, being able to connect personal feelings with collective experiences. Not only fans were moved, but also some public figures joined in the comments. A well-known Korean writer wrote a short essay on his personal blog, saying that Jimin has given important lessons about emotional courage. According to him, the modern world too often demands perfection, so people are afraid to show weakness. However, weakness is not a lack. It is a mirror of humanity. By honestly saying, "I should have spoken earlier," Jimin showed his human side, and that's where his strength lies. Interestingly, some music industry colleagues also highlighted this moment. A producer who has worked with BTS said that Jimin is a person who always cares about details. He often sacrifices himself to make sure everyone around him feels comfortable. Therefore, he was not surprised that Jimin finally felt late to talk, because he was too busy taking care of other people's feelings. The statement also made many people realize that behind Jimin's warm smile, there was a fragile heart, which had waited a long time to be able to be honest without fear. On the other hand, the international media also began to review this confession with various interpretations. Some Western portals considered that the line could have become an emotional teaser for Jimin's next musical work. They argue, Jimin always used art as a medium to express things that are difficult to say directly. His last solo album was full of introspective nuances, as if reflecting a personal journey full of doubt and courage. So, it is very possible that this sentence will be the door to a new story that will be poured into his songs. However, for the army, the greatest meaning did not lie in speculation about musical works or promotional strategies. The greatest meaning is honesty itself. Many fans wrote messages of support such as, "It's okay, Jimin. You talk now, and that's all that matters." Or, "You're not late. You're just in time for us." The words filled the timeline, forming a kind of incredibly warm virtual hug, as if the world were coming together to tell Jimin that he was never alone. This moment also sparked a deep conversation among the army about the importance of communication. There was a long thread on an international forum discussing how Jimin's confession could be used as a life lesson. How often do we regret not having the courage to talk to someone we care about? How often do we lose precious moments just because we are afraid to be honest? Wrote one of the users. The discussion grew into hundreds of comments, showing that Jimin's one sentence had stirred the consciousness of many people. In addition, fans began to recall old moments in which Jimin seemed to want to say something. At major concerts, he is often seen holding back tears when speaking to ARMY, choosing words carefully so as not to sound too heavy. Now, when he finally told the truth, all those moments felt clearer, as if the little pieces that had been scattered had finally formed a whole story. There are also those who believe that the sentence is addressed to the BTS members themselves.